for our August 9th Board of Supervisors meeting. Would everybody please rise for a moment of silence? Thank you. Would everybody join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. You may be seated. It gives me great pleasure to welcome our new board member for the evening for District 1, Dr. Peter Gurr. Thank you, Dr. Gurr, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak a little bit later. Thank you so much.
I thank for the citizens to choose me, and I thank for the Board of Supervisors to appoint me. I will humble myself to serve the county. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Gurr. Does anyone have a conflict of interest disclosure tonight? Patty?
No.
Lou?
No.
Dr. Gurr?
No.
Cannon?
No.
Carol?
No.
Jerry?
No.
David? That's a no. So we move forward. At this time, we will have recognition by Ms. Crystal Baker. Crystal, will you come forward?
Dr. Brown, if I may go first, I believe we're still waiting for Jermaine to arrive. She may have had to work this evening. So, with the pleasure of the board, I'll go first.
Okay.
So over the course of the last year, Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator Trey Pyle has been working hard on acquiring skills and knowledge to better serve the citizens of Prince Edward County to help prevent, mitigate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from disasters and emergencies in our community. The National Emergency Management Basic Academy is the essential program for professionals committed to emergency management. Similar to basic academies operated by the fire service and law enforcement, the National Emergency Management Basic Academy provides learners with a broad foundation in emergency management policy and practice. Emergency managers from a wide variety of organizations and agencies come together in this program to share and learn. Interactions with other learners and with veteran instructors build the solid foundation needed to further emergency management knowledge and make informed and sound decisions for communities. The Basic Academy consists of 5 classroom courses: Foundations of Emergency Management, Science of Disasters, Planning, Emergency Operations, Homeland Security Exercise Evaluation Program, and Public Information Basics, for a total of 120 hours of training. Additionally, Trey took 12 additional prerequisite courses in order to qualify for the Academy. So tonight, we are proud that Trey has completed FEMA's National Emergency Management Basic Academy. We'll hope that he never has to use this knowledge in Prince Edward County, but we can all be happy that he is ready with this acquired training for our community's overall public safety. And I believe the county administrator and the board chair will present to Trey.
Congratulations, sir.
And if we could collect the board in the picture, that would be terrific too.
Can you see you, Dr. Gurr? Can you see Dr. Gurr?
Dr. Gurr can slip over Cannon's, oh, no, yeah, slip right over here, Dr. Gurr. Okay, and Patty, there you go, so. think I can see that. Okay, terrific. 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
There we go.
Crystal ball first.
Thank you for slipping in for me, Sarah. I appreciate it. All right, we'd like to recognize Prince Edward County's August Employee of the Month, Ms. Jermaine Mobley. This month marks Ms. Mobley's 23-year anniversary at Rice Solid Waste Convenience Center. She was actually nominated by one of our citizens who recognized her for all of her great kindness and effort that she puts forth with her job and the community. So Ms. Vicki Page is going to say a few words.
Surprise, surprise, Jermaine. I moved to this county 11 years ago, at the end of July 2011. And you move in and you start unpacking and you have boxes and you have newspaper and eventually you have to go to the dump. So I went there. From day one, Ms. Mobley was helpful and courteous, and she continues to provide unmatched customer service to all those who use the facility. She takes great pride in her work and workplace, and she ensures that the facility is always neat and tidy. She decorates the tiny building on site with seasonal wreaths, lighting, and other outdoor decorations at her own expense. No matter the weather, you can count on Jermaine. She'll be there with a ready smile and a willing hand. Jermaine works by the golden rule: treat others as you would like to be treated, with dignity and respect. Prince Edward County is lucky to have such a dedicated and responsible employee. The citizens who use the Rice facility appreciate her good works and feel this recognition is well-deserved. So I'm pleased that the county followed up with my recommendation, and I'm so happy that my friend Jermaine is the County Employee of the Month.
The board would like to present this Employee of the Month certificate, as well as a $30 gift card to the mission.
Congratulations. So proud.
Thank you.
Good? We good?
Make sure I got a head count on board members. Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
All right.
Congratulations.
Oh, my
These are all comments that Facebook posts that people have wonderful comments.
So well deserved.
All right.
Congratulations, dear.
It's fun to go there.
So ain't so well deserved. You see how humbled that young lady is. Hard worker. Thanks so
Amen.
much again. Congratulations. You're welcome. Next on our agenda, public participation. Public participation is an opportunity for U.S. citizens to give input on relevant issues not the subject of a public hearing and is not intended as a question and answer period. Mr. Stanley, do you have anyone who has signed up?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Bob Timmons.
Thank you. Mr. Timmons, would you come forward, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board. Welcome to new members that I haven't seen here before, but welcome. I know that you got some big shoes to fill, and I know you can do it. This is a good county, and I love it to death. So,
Thank you.
but I have two things I want to talk about tonight. One is the traffic with VDOT along Darlington Heights Road, Morris Creek Road, Spring Creek Road. The trimming along the edge of the road, the trees are growing into the road, and when I meet a vehicle with my truck, I have limbs hit the side of my truck, and I'm really getting real tired of that. So they were out and started it, but they quit about halfway down, about 3 miles into Darlington Heights Road. The VDOT quit, and I don't know why. They should have continued on, but if you could maybe have them or schedule that, I would appreciate it. The second thing is on July the 23rd at about 10:50 a.m., Linda and I were on the way to town, and we came up on an accident on Darlington Heights Road. It was a very severe accident. The gentleman run off the road. He hit a culvert. He was not wearing a seatbelt, and he was ejected from the vehicle and flew somewhere around 40 to 50 feet and landed in the ditch. And then the car continued down the road and stopped just about 6 feet from him, or it would have been like Bobby Jones that would have run over him also. It was a very severe accident. The young man was not responsive. He was alive, face down in the ditch. The location of this accident was on a curve and down a hill, coming eastbound, and on a slight curve coming westbound. The neighbor got there at roughly the same time I did. I went to make sure nobody come around that curve to run into us. I parked my car in the middle of the road with flashers on. The neighbor went the other way to take care of traffic that way, and Linda climbed in the ditch with him. She's a nurse and was doing what she could to administer aid. He was very, very severely injured. Anyway, 911 was called at about 10:50 in the morning. At about Hampton-Sydney Police Department arrived, as well as the Darlington Heights Fire Department at 11:05 and 11:15 respectively. And about 11:20, the EMS, and I'm using the word EMS for the ambulance service, the EMS arrived, and I'm going to tell you, that was the longest 30 minutes in my life. It would seem like an eternity for that ambulance to get here. This young man was, he was just barely breathing. He had a very shallow pulse, and we thought surely he was not going to make it. Additionally, over the past year, there's been 2 heart attacks, victims out in Darlington Heights area, that both victims or both people died as a result of the heart attack. I'm not saying that if the ambulance would have been there at the door, it would have saved them. I'm not saying that at all. But I do know that it took over 40 minutes for each one of for the ambulance to respond to each one of those calls. And in truth, that's just too long for the southern western part of the county. It's too long. I've spoken with a number of citizens in both the Darlington Heights area and Abilene area and that general portion of the county, And unanimously, this group I spoke to would like to have the board consider moving the EMS services facilities from where it currently is to a different place. At present, there's a special levy for the EMS in the county that's funded by our citizens. And the purpose of this levy is to improve the responsiveness of the EMS for all the citizens in the county, including equipment, vehicles, and facilities. Relocating the EMS facility to a better and more central location that would improve the quality of the responsiveness of EMS does fall within the stated purpose of this levy. My request to this board is to provide a new EMS facility that is located near the intersection of Highway 15 and Highway 460 in the industrial park where the county owns the property already, somewhere near the Lowe's area. That's the area I'm talking about. This location would allow immediate access to Highway 15 going south. It would also allow immediate access to Highway 460, both going east and west. And better still, would not interrupt the services to the town. The time for the town would be virtually the same. And finally, I'm available to the board to assist with this request if the board so desires my help. I want to thank you for this consideration, and hopefully the board will see fit to support the relocation of the EMS facility to a better location that serves the citizens of this county better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Timmons, for those two vital concerns.
Thanks, Bob. Doug.
We don't have anyone else who has signed up, but would anybody else like to come forward with a public comment or concern? Okay, thank you. At this time, we will hear comments from members of our Board of Supervisors. Hannah, we start with you, please.
Did you say me? I'm sorry.
Yes, Ken.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Great crowd. Had the pleasure of joining some of my fellow compatriots here, welcoming the students to the first day of school today. Some students were a good bit more enthusiastic than others. Maybe some of us at that hour were a little more enthusiastic than others, but it was great, and it was a great day to be out there, and there was renewal in the air with the first day of school.
Carol.
Good evening, everyone. I too was at the welcoming this morning with the children coming in. It was quite exciting. I didn't realize that many buses came in at one particular time. And we witnessed one young lady. She got off at the middle school, but she was a high school student. But she didn't realize, I think, the area. And Miss Carson did a wonderful job in showing her and walking her over to the high school. So it was quite interesting this morning. And welcome, everyone.
Thank you. Jerry.
Well, thank everyone for being here. Always is a pleasure to see you, and always looking to gather your input on how we can make the county more efficient and progressive. Okay.
Thank you much. David.
Thank you all for being here. This is, as I say every time, it's your time for input into this, or if you can't catch one of us on the side, please be here to let us know. Without your input, it's hard for us to know exactly what you want us to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Patty.
Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to see you all. And I too was at the early morning welcome to the students back to the school. It was quite interesting. And like Cannon says, there were a few that were enthusiastic, but there was others like, is this a parade that we got to walk through or something? You know, what is going on here? But it was a joy to be there to see the students come in this morning.
We might have increased their stress level.
I think just a little bit.
Luke.
Glad to see everyone. I couldn't be there this morning, but I called Doug while he was in line high-fiving everybody, and he told me he didn't have time to talk to me. So. I'm glad to see everyone.
Dr. Gurr.
It's my pleasure to hear that the students is coming. And besides, I also heard Mr. Good said. So the elementary school roof was patched and it was not leaking. That's a good news.
That's
Yeah,
good.
that was good. I voiced the sentiments of all the board members, and I want to officially thank the Board of Representation at the middle school this morning. We were there, we greeted the students. It was just an awesome job to see. I left the middle school, went to the high school, greeted her, the students. I went to the elementary school, and not only did I see the elementary principal, I saw the division superintendent. So it all worked out very well, but just a wonderful day indeed. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the support. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. You've looked over that, hopefully? Any comments, concerns?
Move that the consent agenda be approved as written.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and second that we approve the agenda. David? Jerry?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Dr. Gurr?
Yes,
Lou?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
And Odessa, yes. Moving, yes. Comment? Okay, moving on. Highway matters. Scott cannot be here tonight because he is in Buckingham County's Board of Supervisors meeting. So would we ask Ms. Sarah Puckett if she would come forward for any concerns from the board members? And Sarah, if you would pass those concerns along from Mr. Timmons to Scott
I've
relevant.
written those down. Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, before she goes, I have my notes wrong. On page 32 of the consent agenda, we just need to change this, we need to change Renetta's name to Watkins, W-I-T-K-I-N-S, instead of Watson.
Oh,
Thank you much for that.
I
Appreciate that, David.
have a note that I'm wrong page.
Thank you. Yes, I see that.
good, good.
Thank you much. Sarah?
Yes, ma'am. I'd be happy to record any concerns or maintenance issues and pass them on to Scott.
Bob is correct. There's a lot of roads that need to be trimmed back.
That sounded like the whole Darlington Heights region.
Five Forks Road, it's some places that are terrible.
Just remind him about the bridge cutting that mentioned last month, Ms. Puckett, on New Bethel, Mount, and Verso.
Any other comments?
There are 648 and 649 that needs to be trimmed also, the entrances to the landfill, both sides. And there's a spot, I guess it would be north of 649 and 648, yes, it's got a bad spot from the breaking out where it crosses the creek. You go ahead and check it, please. It'll be in between Tuggle Road and Oliver, about halfway.
Creek bottom between Tuggle and Oliver.
Correct. Before you start up the hill towards the landfill, there's a really bad dip there that's breaking out.
Any others?
Mr. Townsend, you said New Bethel and
Verso,
Verso.
so it's a
Thank you.
total of like 3 bridges.
Okay.
And sir, one of the biggest concerns is the roundabout in Hampton, Sydney, from a lot of different constituents. Traffic was going very slowly today. I was very, very happy about that. Mr. Stanley, would you like to mention anything about the roundabout, what's projected and so forth?
So originally, pursuant to the contract, the roundabout was supposed to be open to traffic to accommodate the opening of the Prince Edward County Public Schools, which happened today. The roundabout is not open. The contractor is running behind. I saw, part of that they're blaming on weather and and heat that they had last week. But there's a penalty clause in the contract every day they're delayed. That will be assessed against the contractor by VDOT. It's my understanding that sometime next week, they're anticipating being able to open up the roundabout to traffic. So they'll meet the target to get it completed before the opening of school for Hampton-Sydney. They missed the window for the opening for Prince Edward County Public Schools. I think schools were able to accommodate and work around, and we appreciate that. Obviously, we wanted it open to minimize the impacts to the extent possible, but we certainly want it done correctly and want them to get it done as soon as possible, and certainly before Hampton-Sydney and football season and everything else that comes along with it. So we'll keep the board posted on progress, but I know the contractor financially needs to be out there working 12-hour days to try to get caught up, hopefully.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Sir, thank you so much.
Madam Chair, I think Supervisor Gill had a question about the event permits.
Yes.
I believe that, Lou, that was under the consent agenda.
Yes.
Did you want to mention or talk about either of those two?
No, I thought we'd mention it,
Okay.
kind of support it.
Yeah, that we've got, the board approved 2 event permits. First was the Appomattox Young Farmers Truck and Tractor Pull that will be held September 3rd at the 5 County Fairgrounds here in town. And then the 5 County Fair Association will hold the 2022 5 County Fair, the fairgrounds, of September 27th to October 1st. And I know certainly the last 2 years in COVID have been a big impact on them. Hopefully they'll have a good turnout and response this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Stanley. Next on the agenda is the Virginia Department of Forestry, Kirby Woodford, staff contact. Ms. Serpa.
All right, board members, thank you so much for having me here again this year. For those
Yes,
of you I haven't met, my name is Kirby Woolfolk, and I'm the forest manager out at the 6,500 acres that make up the Prince Edward and Galleon State Forest. We've had kind of a busy year out there this year, a lot of line painting, a lot of invasive species control, a lot of road cleanup. But we've also made some really good progress. Secondly, one that we're excited about is a new hardwood habitat initiative that the whole state is pushing forward. Much like the Commonwealth of Virginia and the Department of Forestry pushed hard on our pine research and pine development 60 years ago, and it's gotten us to where we are in pine management today. Now it's hardwood's turn. And the Prince Edward County Forest is actually, the Prince Edward State Forest is actually going to be on the forefront of a lot of that research and a lot of that showcase. And so we've put in a couple of plots and a few studies out there to help push that forward to where we can get good oak, a lot of those pristine forests that we all remember growing up in. That's what we're going to try to push for the next 100 years and getting that kind of landscape back. We've also done some harvesting out there. Actually, they're in the middle of harvesting a tract of timber now. It's about 102 acres. And that's where the county payment comes in from this year. Y'all are entitled to a portion of all the harvesting that takes place on the actual forest out there on Prince Edward. And for this fiscal year, which runs from July 1st to June 30th, that amount comes to $59,459.53. Before I drop this off, I'll be happy to answer any questions or concerns you may have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for that information.
Can I ask a question? Is that harvesting the stuff that's happening along Green Bay Road?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm trying to get my roads correctly. I know it's right there on the Galleon portion of the forest. It's down there, so yes, sir.
What's going to happen to the property when it's all forested, when it's all cut down? Are you going to put it in hardwoods, or are you going to do anything with the property?
For that particular track, we're going to reforest that back into pine. That's what came off of it, so that's what we're going to go back in with it. A whole goal of our mission in the state forest is to kind of keep the makeup of the forest in the same. And for out there at Prince Edward, it's actually about 65% hardwood, 45% pine, and that's what we try to maintain.
Madam Chair, if I could ask a question.
Sure.
Kirby, spotted lanternfly. I saw, I think yesterday, Bedford County. I know it had been up in the northern Shenandoah Valley, and now we're seeing it move south. Have you all been talking about it? And are y'all keeping an eye out for sightings.
It's one of those things that's both a blessing and a curse. When it comes to our actual hardwoods and our forest, it's not that big of a threat. As a matter of fact, it attacks Atlantis, which is an invasive species. The real scare of it is it also attacks our vineyards. And so that's where the real worry and concern of it is. It has moved up and down the I-81 corridor, and it only took about 3 years for it to invest almost every county up and down I-81. Now it's starting to push this way from 460. It is something we are keeping an eye on and something that we're quarantining and isolating. But unfortunately, I'm just going to be honest with you, every time something like this happens, it eventually spreads out everywhere.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
How bad is the devastation of the vineyards? Wiping it out completely?
You know, I'm be honest, I'm not that much into that side of the world. They don't seem to be that drastically affected because it's coming in kind of slowly. It's not one of those insects that comes in and wipes out every single one of your crops right away. So you lose a portion this year, you know, you can kind of build that into your cost, and then you may lose a little other portion next year. And so I think they're being able to adjust to it, but to be honest with you, I don't know the economics of it for them. All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Woodward.
Thanks.
Next on our agenda, we have community partner updates. These are individuals from our community who will give us updates on their jobs. Starting with Prince Edward County Public Schools, our division superintendent, Dr. Barbara Johnson. And we'll ask individuals in this area, have your comments roughly for about five minutes, because we have 5 different individuals who will be presenting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Stanley, and members of the board. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you this evening.
Sure.
The one wonderful thing about being an educator is that every year is a new year. So I say to all of our educators and all of our students every year, Happy New Year. So I say Happy New Year to all of you as well. A few things. First of all, thank you so much you were wonderfully represented for opening day. The next time, go to the elementary school, you'll see more enthusiasm. Middle school students, the early grades, 5th grade, 6th grade, they're really excited. 8th grade, not so much. But thank you all so much. It really does make a difference for our students to see you and to feel your support. So I appreciate you for that. A few things that I want to share. Repairs on the roof. Just so that you know, Building G, there were repairs that were needed in all of our buildings, and we had buildings A through G. Building G has been completely taken care of. However, we suspect a new leak in the closet of the music room. We suspect. So we have to go and investigate just how bad it really is, if it's really there, if somebody spilled something. We have to just make sure and see what that is. But you know, the water travels. But the music room is fine, it's safe, but we do want to check out the closet in Building G. Building E, the majority of the leaks, the most severe leaks are in Building E. We've already had the 2 classrooms cleaned out by ServPro. There is no mold in the building at all. The classrooms are fine. The 2 classrooms, however, that we had closed are still closed, and that is because we have not put ceiling tiles or floor tiles back into that room because we still have leaks. That work has not been finished in Building E. So the thought is, why put the new floor tile and ceiling tile in there when all of that work has not been done? The smaller work in Buildings A, B, and C is being taken care of currently. So no major leaks. Dr. Gurr, you're absolutely right, no major leaks, but we are watching it very carefully. As far as our track, repairs on our track is being renovated, if you will, restored. The work is being done. If you look at we have some pictures on Facebook with the big tractors out there digging up the track, We expect that the track will be finished so that we'll have a beautiful new track, hopefully by the end of October, beginning of November. That's the estimated time. So we're very excited about that. It will be ready for spring track season. I wanted to share with you that we have $1.4 million that was given by the federal monies, CARES money for construction. That money has to be spent this year, this academic year. So we have asked our finance committee, and we are also working with our strategic plan, the 5-year portion, to look at things that we can correct this school year, correct and/or update this school year. So you've heard Mr. Stanley talk about, for instance, renovating some of the bathrooms. The auditorium, we need to do something with sections of the seating in the auditorium, things like that. We are looking at, again, our 5-year plan, as well as getting input from our board around what we want to do with that money, because it has to be spent in this academic year. Electric buses, I don't know if I shared with you during my last update or not, but there is a grant for electric buses. The grant is due August 19th, so we're in the process of writing it. We have not finished. However, we have moved forward. Mr. Mayhew, our Supervisor of Transportation, he has met with Dominion Energy, the Dominion Energy Project Manager, for a site for the chargers for electric buses. We have 5 buses that need to go for auction. So those buses that we send to auction, we will replace. The goal is to replace those buses with electric buses. Dominion will take care of the batteries for 15 years. And we are, as I said, finishing up the grant. Once everything is approved, we are a high needs area. So once everything is approved, the wait time for these buses is about 5 months. So we're hoping that around October, we will be able to have our first electric buses on the road. That's the goal. These buses, of course, would travel our shorter routes, so our routes in town or just right outside of town. And then the last thing that I'd like to share, I'm very excited about, and it is not official, so accreditation status comes out in late September. And so nothing is final around accreditation until late September. However, I will say this, that we have very, very positive results for our elementary school. And we have very, very high expectations for our elementary school. I'm hoping you're reading between the lines here, because I cannot say much more than that. As far as our high school, we had significant improvement at the high school level as well. And as far as the middle school is concerned, we've had some progress at the middle school. The majority of our real work needs to happen at the middle school. The middle school last year suffered from lack of staff, larger class sizes, and change in leadership, just a lot of different contributing factors. So a lot of work is going to be focused this year on the elementary school, the middle school, but we are anticipating very, very good results from our elementary school. And Madam Chair, that is it. I hope I stayed within my 5 minutes.
Oh, yes, but I hate to increase, but I have some additional questions. In
Yes,
terms
ma'am.
of teacher shortages or whatever, what are you looking at in terms of the schools, elementary, middle, and high?
As far as the vacancies?
Yes.
We currently have 8, maybe not quite 8 vacancies, 7. 7 or 8.
School-wide?
Division-wide.
Division-wide?
Yes, ma'am.
Only 8?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And most of those are in special education.
Okay, I have a question also about counselors at the middle school.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
have any counselors there?
We hired 1 counselor today.
Oh, wonderful.
And we have 1 student counselor, if you will. She is working on a practicum. So they both are expected to come around the 20th, 24th of August. So we have 1 national certified counselor coming, and one, for lack of a better term, student counselor, someone who's working on their practicum that we hope to be able to hire once she's finished.
Now,
So
I know
I'm
at
excited
one,
about that. And we put in a registrar position also at the middle school just to help with the situation with counselors. We were really concerned about that.
repeat that statement again, Dr. Johnson.
We also put in, because we did not have any counselors
Right.
for the middle school. So as Plan B, we put in additional registrar to help with enrolling children, making sure children had the registrar, yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Making sure that children had the right classes, et cetera. But as it turns out, we hired one today, and we have the student coming to do her practicum.
Are there any state mandates when it comes to schools and counselors? How
Yes,
many
ma'am.
counselors are you supposed to have?
One,
Only one at the middle school level?
yes, ma'am. But
And
we
that's
have
not
two.
based on the number of students that you have?
It is based on the number of students. I think it's 1 per 600 or 500 or so, yes, ma'am.
So how many students do you have enrolled at the middle school?
I cannot tell you the specific number today because I haven't looked at the attendance for the first day. Usually, we run, the elementary school is usually 850. The middle school is about 600, 650, somewhere in there.
You know, it's very important that we
Absolutely.
get that middle school straightened because that seems to be the area of most concern with accreditation.
Yes, ma'am.
The area that we need to work on, so I'm very, very concerned
Yes, ma'am.
about that.
That is where we're focusing I don't want to imply that we're not going to focus on all of the schools.
Right,
Because we
right.
have to focus on all of the schools, but that's where we are definitely putting our energy this year on the middle school to make sure that they have all of the supports they need to show significant progress. That is also the level that has the most SOL tests.
Right.
So
right.
it's very heavy in testing. So we have to put more resources there. And we hired for the first time in quite a long time, a math interventionist to also help us at the middle school. It's been very difficult over the last several years to find a math interventionist. And unfortunately, we lost a teacher. Fortunately, we regained that teacher a year and a half, 2 years later. So we have had a lot of people to come back to Prince Edward County. I'm excited about that, too.
Does any other board member have questions or concerns? Dr. Johnson, we thank you much for your presentation.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate
I
that.
appreciate it. And I will be back. Look forward to good news in the upcoming months.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Next for presentation, we have our Tanna Manager, Dr. Scott Davis. Scott, if you come forward.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Stanley, thank you for having me this evening. I can promise I won't be 5 minutes. I want to just give you all a little bit of an update on where we are and what we're doing. First, I'll start off with ARPA funding. I've shared some ideas in the past, but the council has fully funded upgrading our water and wastewater treatment plants through this funding. And with that, the water treatment plant will see about $2.2 million in upgrades, and the wastewater treatment plant will see about $1 million in upgrades. So we're very excited about that. As you know, we do some upgrades along the way, but this is the first time that it will be major upgrades in those areas. And one of the things, obviously, was in the newspaper, and all of you have known is recently that we had an incident with our wastewater treatment plant with chlorine gas. And so there's a different product out there that is, we wouldn't have that issue any longer. And so we're looking at how we can transfer to that chemical instead of chlorine gas and treating the discharge before it goes back into the river. Some other fun things, because as the council tells me, citizens don't really always want, they can't see things that are in the ground. They want to see what's above ground that they can have fun with. And so we're going to renovate some parks, our skateboard park. We're going to renovate that. We're also going to exchange some playground equipment at the library that the Exchange Club originally put in many years ago. And then to add to Lions Park, we are looking at putting in a splash pad. So that'll be an enhancement for that area for kids to come to play on the playground and then splash around on a splash pad. We have been working in partnership with the Mary Branch nonprofit, but also the county. And that has been a good collaboration with Doug and myself and the members of that nonprofit, and hoping that we can get to a point where we can move that forward even further. The town's been apart ever since you probably saw, or some of you hope, I know I saw Cannon, some of you attended the event for the affordable housing project for STEPS and Better Housing Coalition. And so the town pushed that forward in the beginning and has been a member of that group since its formation under STEPS. And we definitely support the need and what this project could look like for the residents of Prince Edward County and the town of Farmville. We are looking at creating an ordinance that allows for, it's a civil penalty for speeding in certain school zones. And actually, a college, it's different than just the 25-mile-an-hour ones that are more of a traffic penalty in primary school zones. This can be used on Griffin Boulevard where the university is. And we've had some issues there. A student, I think, not last year, the year before, 2 years ago, got struck in a crosswalk. And so this will help us during certain hours to reduce that. And the beauty of it is under that civil penalty in state law, that if we adopt an ordinance, it allows us to do it by photo monitoring. So we set a certain speed limit. If you go over that by, let's say, 10 miles an hour, takes a picture, and the person owning the vehicle is responsible for paying that penalty for that speed.
I may or may not have received one of those. Somewhere else.
So we are looking at, and the reason for that also is it's a high traffic area for people that are trying to cut off from Main Street to get to the other side of town, and so we feel that it'd be beneficial in that way. One of the other things we hope you were able to attend, the town feels it was a successful event, which was our July 2nd event, celebrating the 4th of July. We moved it to downtown Farmville, and hopefully everybody was able to come and enjoy that. There was a lot of community that was gathered together, and a great event, having a fireworks show that was actually in the town limits that the town puts on. And then a reminder, as being part of the Heart of Virginia Festival, don't forget that it has moved this year. It is going to be on September the 17th, and we look forward to seeing you there. And I will be happy to take any questions. Just don't make it too hard, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any questions or concerns?
I have two.
Yes, do.
You're talking about changing from a chlorine gas. Is chlorine gas used at the water treatment plant also?
It is,
Is that?
but I want to
changed?
say either we have switched from chlorine gas or we're looking at that as well.
Number two, talking about Griffin Boulevard, it would simplify things if the constant speed limit was 25 miles an hour from the Morton Museum all the way to the other end. Right now, you have two speed limits on that street. It would be better if it was one, because people start out heading north, and they think it's 30 miles an hour speed limit through there, and then all of a sudden it drops to 25, and they don't realize it.
That is something to look into in making it one. And we'll look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Thank you all.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Next on the agenda, the Executive Director of Commonwealth Regional Council, Ms. Melody Foster.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I realized when Doug invited me to this meeting that there were going to be several new board members. So I'm pretty sure most of you have no idea who I am. When you heard Commonwealth Regional Council, quite honestly, most of the time when I state that title, when I'm away at events, they think I'm with the state of Virginia. So I'm pretty sure you have no idea who that is. So I'm the Executive Director of the Commonwealth Regional Council, which I've been with for 36 years. You have some attachments from me. One of them is an attachment that describes what planning districts are, and that's what the Commonwealth Regional Council is. It's one of 21 planning districts that cover the state of Virginia. And there's a fact sheet there. You can look at that at your leisure. There are a few things on there. It looks like this that I did want to cover that tell you a little bit about what planning districts are. I just want to highlight a few things. One of the things that planning districts do is encourage and facilitate regional solutions to problems of area-wide significance. We also perform a host of critical functions that positively impact economic development and the quality of life. And we work with numerous state and federal agencies obtaining and administering grants for programs, which is what most people think of when they think of our agency as working on grants. And then also at the bottom of that sheet is some of the types of services we're currently providing. I did want to point out one of those items that I probably won't cover later is redistricting. That is something we only do every 10 years. Redistricting is only done every 10 years after the census is done. So we just completed that process for our localities. We did work on 9 redistricting processes for localities, Prince Edward included. In fact, I delivered some maps to Doug tonight. And that still kind of continues on because most of the localities are still working with the state agencies to continue some of the products on that. So that's one of our services. We pretty much consider ourselves an extra arm or an extra staff member to our localities, even though our agency only has 4 staff. A lot of our localities are short-staffed as well, and we feel like we assist them with a lot of the projects that they're working on. The counties that we cover, because we're a regional agency, are Amelia, Buckingham, Charlotte, Cumberland, Lunenburg, Nottoway, and Prince Edward, and all 11 towns located within them. So there's 18 localities that we assist. And then also seated on our board of directors is David Emmerich, is currently our chairman, will be our chairman at our next meeting. And Dr. Dessa Pratt also is the alternate on our board. So we appreciate all of their help. You'll see each month in your board packet, it's usually probably under informational items. You don't hear it covered during the board meeting, but it is inserted in your board packet, an item called CRC Items of Interest. And I believe this month that's page 155 in your packet. And that also looks like this. It will always be only one page. I try my best just to keep it bulleted items, just, one page. And it gives you a snapshot of what we're working on every month so that you'll know who we are and what we're working on. Currently, some of the projects that we're working on that are regional nature, we do regional emergency planning. We're working on the watershed implementation plan that's related to the Chesapeake Bay. We are working on rural transportation planning. We're also working on a regional hazard mitigation plan. We're actually updating it. And that's a very important document for the region because you need to have a FEMA-approved regional hazard mitigation plan in case, God forbid, you ever have a natural disaster and you need to access FEMA funds. One of the first things they're going to look for is to see if you have your plan updated. So we're currently working on that, and we're actually pretty much closing in on the end of that process. We were also very fortunate to receive some funds from Virginia Housing, all of the planning districts did, to establish an affordable workforce housing program. We received $2 million in funding to initiate our own grant program. This is the first time we've ever done that, where we actually give grants. We selected 3 housing partners after we solicited for applicants. Piedmont Habitat for Humanity Smythe Properties LLC, and the Town of Blackstone in partnership with Southside Outreach. And through this, 20 affordable housing units will be built or established by 2024. And that will be in the localities of Prince Edward, Charlotte, Nottoway, and Lunenburg counties. And hopefully, we're going to have some monies left over, and we're going to put out another RFP and get some additional projects done. Another regional initiative that we're currently working on with all of the localities is the possibility of creating a new regional economic development organization, or a REDO, for the region. We recently submitted a grant application to Go Virginia to fund a business plan for the creation of this organization. That was actually submitted very recently, and I'm going to be meeting with the project selection committee this week. So hopefully that will be moving forward, and you'll be hearing more about that in the not-so-distant future. Like I said, one of the main things that we do that the localities use our services a lot for is providing free grant writing services. We provide that to our member localities as well as 501c nonprofit organizations. You'll see at the back of that attachment that I gave you a listing of the grant funds that have been received from last fiscal year, July 21 through June 22. Total for the entire region was $25,661,513 received last year. And regional projects of that total was $2,632,400, and Prince Edward County specifically was $9,662,785. And you'll see at the bottom of that attachment, I gave you some of the projects that were specifically funded in Prince Edward. Radio replacement and upgrade, broadband deployment, a new boiler for the cannery, a new van cell and equipment out of the Piedmont Regional Jail, Farmville Police Department overtime pay for their officers, and then another important project, A&E costs for the water tank and booster station at the Heartland Innovation Park. And the broadband deployment project is actually a project, it's shared between 3 counties. So those are some important, dollars that come into your localities that fortunately free up your monies so that you can spend them on other projects. We have done very well this last year too. Our budget that was approved back in June. In our budget, we've got 13 local or regional projects that we're working on in the coming year, totaling $254,053. And we have 3 state contracts totaling $205,000, and our local and member investment funds, which Prince Edward County is a local member, total $133,000. So we're projecting a net income this coming year of $136,000. That's all I had to present tonight, but I will be glad to take any questions. Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a question. During the COVID-19, so the Prince Edward is short of a broadband. Okay, so now how much it is improved?
It will be improved. The broadband project is through the state of Virginia, and like I said, Prince Edward, Cumberland, and Lunenburg jointly applied for this project, and we were actually the applicant for them. And the idea is to have the majority of Prince Edward County have broadband deployed in the county. So it should improve it significantly.
If I can tag along, Melody. So it's about a 4.5 year project, Dr. Gurr. You will start seeing in some areas of the county, Connects is our local contractor. They will be contracting with some other outside cable companies to come in and help install that cable, but we'll see some activity this year, and we have a monthly call, and we'll be able to give updates on a monthly basis as far as the miles of fiber installed and the number of homes and businesses that are passed with that fiber. So over the next few months, you'll start getting your first updates, but we'll start to see some stuff go in the ground here soon.
Yes, but he's correct. That's going to be over a 4-year term, and it was in combination with funds that Connects got through other means as well to do this large project.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Melody, thank you so much for that detailed report.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Virginia State Parks, Daniel Jordan, High Bridge Trail State Park.
Right. Kevin, I think you guys split it 5 minutes, so I'll give you what's left of the 6.
All right, Madam Chair, Board of Supervisors, County Administrator Stanley, and citizens of Prince Edward County. We're here to talk about your state parks, and I do say yours because it's everyone's in this room. Some of you might not know, but Prince Edward County has the most state parks in the state of Virginia. We have 3. If you ever talk to Sarah Puckett, she will make sure that you know that fact. But so tonight, we're going to talk about Hybrids Trail. Sailors Creek Battlefield, they could not be here tonight. Both of their head guys are on vacation, so it must be nice. So first, if you'd advance that slide. So here's our numbers. So our revenue last year, fiscal year, same as the July 1 to June 30th. We're at 73,000. This year we did 79. So we're up almost $6,000 and 8%. Now for Hybrids Trail, our yearly budget is right at $250,000, $250,000, and that does not include full-time wages. There's 5 full-time people. And when I got to Highbridge in 2015, we were making $40,000 a year. So trying to grow a day-use park revenue-wise is difficult. I think Kevin could agree that overnight facilities are our bread and butter. And with that in mind, though, we are not a revenue-driven business. Like, we want to be of the mindset of customer service and visitor experience. And if we do that well, then we will organically grow our numbers. But we also need to keep the lights on. And for every taxpayer in Virginia, 6.5 cents of your tax dollars go to each state park. So we're a pretty good bargain for the money. For the fiscal year attendance, we're right at 140,000. We are seeing a drop in attendance over the last 2 years because the world has opened up and people are able to do other things. When COVID hit, we were gangbusters. Nothing else was open. Highbridge, luckily, the way we're set up, we didn't have to close anything. We didn't have to close bathrooms. We had 31 miles of distancing. And so it was a good deal for people to either discover parks, rediscover, or keep using them. And so hopefully when it drops below 100 degrees, people will come back out. So with that in mind, we do a lot of events. Up here is a couple of different things. So this is our Virginia Racing Series. Dan Paulskamp out of Chesterfield puts this on. He does all his races in state parks. He does one at Twin Lakes as well. And when he does his races, so this was the night train because these knuckleheads run 31 miles in June. We had 325 participants, like people from New York, Canada, all over. So that's all outside dollars coming into the county. Dan Paulskamp also, he will match funding for Faces Food Pantry up to $500. So they usually raise between $1,000 and $1,500 each race. So, and then they fill up the hotels, everything else. We also just, the importance of parks. This young lady finished the race in June and ended up getting engaged at the end of it. And so, and then the next is, we just had a gravel race 2 weeks ago. And these are all in Prince Edward County. We do about 10 races a year. And so this highlights a couple of those. Dan Paulskamp will be here in December. If you all want to run the 100K, which is 62.4 miles, come on out and we'll take care of you. I don't even want to drive 60 miles some days, let alone run it. But yeah, so just really neat. The linear path of the trail does provide for, like I said, all these races. We do 350Ks, 100K, the gravel race, several 5Ks, 10Ks. So it's a good place. So. And the next up is, as you all probably have heard, the Firefly Festival. This has been a very organic program. It started at Buffalo Creek Bridge in 2010, before Highbridge was open, and people were doing stargazing. And somebody looked below the bridge and said, wait a minute, there's stars underneath the bridge. So we got out here in 2015. As some of you know, I have a bunch of kids, and my wife always asks me if the program is mandatory for her and the kids to come to, because I can boost my numbers by 6, right? So when I lived on the Eastern Shore, 6 was a big number. So my first year doing this, we had 150 people. I was blown away. And as we progressed and the word got out, we ended up in 2018, we had 2,000 people come out to the bridge to see fireflies.
And so we've changed our management of it. So this year, we pre-sold tickets, 750 tickets per night we sold out. And what we're going to do is we're going to up that to 800 next year, $10 a person. And so this is a picture of High Bridge with the twinkling lights below. These are non-synchronous. People get very particular about whether we have synchrony in our fireflies like they do down in Tennessee. But in Tennessee, they have one type of firefly. We have about 30 different species. And so if you have not gotten to experience the magic, Father's Day weekend in June, we do this every year. And then this is just, we make it so you don't even have to bring a flashlight. We light the trail all the way from the parking lot. And that too is in Prince Edward County. And so we have people coming from multiple states to see that. So then with that, we're not just about events. We also do a lot of community service. And as I sat down and started looking, this is just over the last year. And so we can go through these pretty quick, but this is Hampton-Sydney football team. This is an illegal dump site up in Pamplin, and so I want to be part of the solution. And so these Hampton-Sydney, football players came out. They filled a 30-yard dumpster in a couple hours, and it put a dent in it. And they were joking around pretty good. So it was a good time, and the hope is that we start cleaning up some of these sites. The next one is National Public Lands Day in September. So this is out in Rochelle, just east of town. It's an old home site. We've done a ton of cleanups up there. And so this was just cleaning up some of those old home sites that have been dilapidated, that snakes like to live in. Mlk Day of Service. So we ended up having bad weather. So this was in February. But we had 12 Longwood students, and they are down in Moran, and they're cleaning up an old home site from the 50s and 60s. And so that was the first cleanup, and a pretty good a bunch of work. The problem with that was it was up on a hillside, it's up on the bank, and so trying to get everything down. Then the next, we did the big event this year. We had 10 participants. Again, we're fighting for locations with Longwood students, but they came out to Lancer Park, and some trash, I think, comes off that bridge as students are going into Lancer Park, and so we constantly are cleaning it up. But they came out and were part of the solution there. And then the next one, our friends group, we did a cleanup at Lancer Park and in Tuggle, and they also, our friends group has cleaned up Aspen Hill Road several times. They do about 1.5 miles of Aspen Hill, so they are very much part of the solution with us. And my thought is that trash breeds trash, as far as if there's a piece of trash on the ground, it'll get a friend and another friend. And so we try to clean up as much as we can. And then again, here's Rochelle, and you can see the old home site. Again, just the amount of trash that we've had, I think 10 or 12 cleanups up there. And so knocking that out. And then the next one is Clean the Bay Day. This is Moran. We filled the dump truck this time because we rented a lift, and we started dragging all the trash down the hill off that old home site. And just, the hope is as we've taken over an old industrial railroad, that we're able to clean it up and make it better for the community. So stay tuned for more cleanups, and if you ever want to volunteer, let me know. And then next is extending into Pamplin. Now, what I've done here is right now, High Bridge Trail ends at Heights School Road, and we're 1 mile from Pamplin. So this green line denotes the old rail line into Pamplin. Now, when Norfolk Southern donated the property to us, they kept 1 mile on the Pamplin end and 1.25 miles on the Burkeville end, and they did that for storage. Well, after 10 years, we were able to purchase the property 2 years ago. And so, we bought the property, which is fantastic, but how do you get money to develop the land? Well, this year, we have applied for a recreational trail program grant through DCR. It's one of DCR's administered programs with federal monies. And we were one of 2 locations selected. So we ended up getting a grant for $365,000. The quote I got is about $600,000 to build out the last mile of trail. And
I will say that this white line right here is about where the Appomattox Prince Edward line is. So it gives you a pretty good idea of how much this new section of trail is in Pamplin, and I'm assuming in Prince Edward. And so, so we have 365,000. It's an 80-20 soft match. And so what we're going to do is our agency has already has put $250,000 to it, and we have a lot of interest in the community. And so with removal of debris and trash. So volunteers, we're allowed to assess them at $30 an hour for soft match. So if anyone would like to volunteer, or if we could even work with the county on doing some cleanups or getting dumpsters to get that knocked out. But getting into Pamplin, the other issue is we have to close the active rail line crossing, which is still open. It's 60 miles an hour on a blind curve. And so in this red box is the parking lot. If you go to the next slide. So this is the new parking lot that the town of Pamplin is building. This is in Appomattox County. However, they have, Appomattox had COVID CARES savings, and they are paying for a parking lot to be built and donated to the park. So up here is Pamplin Road, and the trail will go right in here. And so they're going to provide us with 9 regular parking spots, 1 handicap, and 4 trailer parking spots. And so they will donate that to the park once it is complete.
As in a horse trailer?
Yes, yeah, it'll be. And then we'll look down the road if we can develop that site even more. But yeah, so this is big. And this is part of the reason why we were selected is our involvement with Prince Edward County and Appomattox County and the town of Pamplin, because this is just an old railroad bed, but it means so much to the county and to the community. And lastly, the new visitor center. So this is the rendering of the visitor center. My worry was that they were going to want to put it in the picnic area at Camp Paradise, and it would look like a rest stop on 95. And I said, what if we made it look like a train station? Well, that looks like a train station to me. So they took this off the 1914 drawings. And so this is going to, the site for this is at Camp Paradise in Prince Edward County. And so when you go into Camp Paradise, it's right there at the bottom of the parking lot. 2,500 square foot building. It'll have flush toilets that are separate so we can have those open even when the building, if it is closed. It'll be 780 square feet of visitor center space, gift shop, reception. There'll be a meeting room and then administrative offices. We met today, because I will say that we went to no bid during COVID because lumber prices pushed us out on budget. But we were able to use ARPA money. So today we had a pre-bid meeting. We had 6 contractors show up. And so they have to get their bids submitted by the 24th of this month. So hopefully we will be breaking ground in the fall. So that, and this is a game changer because my office is on Green Bay Road and nobody knows that it's an office. And so we need to be accessible to the public. So that is what I have. Are there any questions that I can answer? Yes, sir.
We got a little money left over. One of those will really look good at Prospect.
Yes. We'll see what happens. I will say though, if with this project, they did put a bid addendum to pave Camp Paradise Road. So, because it is, if it's our main entrance, people don't like it, their car's gravelly and
That
dusty.
really looks nice.
Yeah, thank you.
It really looks
So,
nice.
all right, any other questions? All right, thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So is Kevin here to present from Twin Lake State Park? Okay.
Daniel, you didn't leave much time.
No, I was going to say, no.
That's my time.
Like 20 seconds.
Yeah. I will consider giving you 3 minutes.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Stanley, thank you everyone for taking the time to come out today. I will try to keep it brief, but I'm Kevin Fabian. I'm the park manager at Twin Lake State Park in Green Bay, Virginia. For those who don't know, Twin Lake State Park, formerly known as Prince Edward Goodwin Lake State Park, has a very rich history in the area. It was Prince Edward State Park was the first state park in Virginia open to people of color. And a lot of that history was lost over the years, but we're slowly beginning to get it back. Last year, I talked about our shelter dedication that recognized one of the original CCC members of the all-black Civilian Conservation Corps that built the park back in the 40s. But I'll start with some of the numbers that Daniel mentioned as well for his park. So in 2021, our attendance was 117,000 people. Our fourth quarter of this past year did go up from the year before, but overall our attendance is also down for some of the same reasons Daniel mentioned. Our revenue last year was $586,000. That was down from the previous year about 14%. That was largely due to our cabins and conference facility being closed for 3 months due to well repairs. So we are doing really well. We had over 3,200 volunteer hours last year, so we also work closely with the universities nearby. In the next 2 months alone, multiple groups from Longwood University and Hampton-Sydney are coming out to do erosion control work, plant native plant species, make trail repairs, and do refurbishing on our playgrounds. So we're very fortunate to have those organizations nearby to come out and support the park. Let's see. Our economic impact overall to the area is $4.8 billion. So we work with the University of Virginia Tech to do an economic impact assessment every year. And they look at the revenue of the park, the spending of the guests in the park, as well as expected spending in the area, and that's where we get those numbers. So $4.8 billion, that's a lot of money. We also directly and indirectly contribute to 71.9, I'm not sure where that 0.9 person is, 71.9 jobs in the area, which is fantastic as well. Our capital improvement projects, we call them, that we get additional funding for from the state. So that would be the visitor center at High Bridge. We've also had over $2 million allocated for a visitor center at Twin Lakes. It'll be probably 3 to 4 years before construction starts on that facility, but it will be located up at the corner of Twin Lakes Road and Grape Lawn. That way we can redirect the road that goes down to Cedar Crest and Overnight Side and impact more people coming into the park. That way we impact all those folks coming in. And that facility will be similar in size to the one at High Bridge, but will have a much larger exhibit area. So it's currently allocated for 1,300 square feet to tell that rich history of the park, and we're looking to get additional funding to be able to expand that further, because that's just not enough room for all the stories we have to tell. Other capital improvement projects, we've got a pre-bid meeting next week to repave the section of road coming into the day use side of the park, as well as extend that paving up to the spot concessions building. So same thing, we have a lot of dust issues in the park, a lot of erosion, and that'll help a lot with that. We are also about to start on our dam repairs that were damaged during Hurricane Michael, so we're fortunate to have that work beginning soon. Inflation has affected our pre-bids, and we had to extend or seek out more money for those projects, but we have found that. We were recognized this year by the Virginia Senate for our Virginia Green Award for efforts in using LED lighting, battery-powered equipment, and things like that. And we are still trying to restart our inmate program with the Nottoway Correctional Facility. So we attended their partner meeting earlier this year. We've been in communication with them, and we've purchased a second log splitter in advance of them coming out. It's a huge impact it has on the park to be able to provide our firewood for our guests coming into the campground and day use areas. So that's a huge impact. And I'll stop it there just to open it up for questions and see what I can answer for you guys.
But you still don't have any swimming there?
We
No
do have
swim.
swimming.
Oh, so you can swim there?
Yes, ma'am. So during COVID, we closed our concessions facility and we stopped providing lifeguards. So it became swim at your own risk. And we have continued that swim at your own risk program. So we still allow people to swim all day long during the summer. So that's allowed us to extend our swimming hours and days of the year that people can swim. We also no longer charge for swimming. So that allows a whole car full of people to come into the park for $7, which is our parking fee, as opposed to paying your parking fees, and then paying your swim fees for each person that goes into the lake. So I think that's opened up the swimming to a lot more people, and just keeps more dollars in their pockets, that allows them to come out more often.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you all for your time.
Report.
Thank you.
And we know Dave is not here tonight. Do we have Dr. Melba Moore from the Crossroads Boards?
Yes.
Yes, Dr. Moore. Thank you so much, young man. Dr. Moore, we welcome you, and I know you're very detailed. We want to give you, please, no more than 5 minutes. So if you
That's
can
all.
combine some of those details. Good to see you, Dr. Moore.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, Board of Supervisors, and County Administrators, visitors, and thank you to my 3 staff that came this evening. I will be brief. I don't know the last time that someone was here, but I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Crossroads Community Services Board. We were established 49 years ago. We provide mental health, substance use services, to the community, to 7 counties. To prevent, treat the occurrence, as I said, mental illness, intellectual disabilities, and substance use and co-occurring disabilities. And because of you, and thank you for what you do for us in providing approximately $60,000 to us. I have an operating budget of $117 million is my operating budget. And because it's limited amount of time and I don't want to bore you with a lot of detail, I am going to go through this presentation so that you can take the presentation at your leisure and kind of read through it. And again, the financial resources that you provide us is for mental health emergency services and mental health medical services. And tonight I have my Director of Emergency Services. So on behalf of my employees and myself, thank you so very much for the funding that you do provide us, because we truly, truly appreciate it. I am a data-driven person. My organization is data-driven. I'm providing you an overview of 2022. I came in April, so this will really just look at 2022. COVID really has impacted every single thing, the workforce. And this is across the country that you'll see it. And one of the concerns that we've experienced within our organization is people leaving and the competitive salaries. So we know that. But what we're going to do, and you'll see that I have an executive team and I have a leadership team. No lines. I know who they are. I know what we're going to do, and we're going to do it in a team. There will be another layer, probably 2 more layers. And what I'm thinking about are going to be considered my coaches. That'll be that next layer. So you see here at the top, my executive team, which is that span of control, which is usually 5 to 7. And then the next 3 layers, 21, that's my leadership level. And below that will be my coaches. And then probably below that, and this group that are here tonight, they're probably hearing it for the first time saying, oh, there goes Dr. Moore. It'll be my contributors. They'll be my contributors. But thanks to my finance director, he said to me today, and it made so much sense. See, I'm not supposed to know everything. That's why I got a team. He said, we're all caregivers. I like that. We are. We're all caregivers. So thank you, BJ, for that. And thank you again, Prince Edward County, for my $60,000. I love you for that. Thank you. All right, emergency services. And this is where I'm going to need Prince Edward County's help. And I want you to hear me because I'm being very passionate about this. They tell me don't be emotional, but I have to be emotional to tell you my struggle. I cannot do this without your help. My police officers, let me tell you what has happened. I love them for this. Amelia, Blackstone Police Department, Buckingham, Charlotte, Cumberland, Cambridge, Lunenburg, Nottoway, Prince Edward, all of them came to my rescue. They signed an MOU with me and said, okay, Dr. Moore, we're going to help you out. Because we have people who are in crisis, and they rise to the occasion, and they sit in that emergency room. Here's where I need your help. I need your voice. Because we had a person who the group home wouldn't take him back. And he sat in the ER for 9 hours. Yep, we had a police officer sit there for 9 hours. Hospital wouldn't take him. So eventually, somebody took him. And this is not, it happens once in a while. This is all the time. So they get pulled off the street and this happens. I'm not going to stay there long, but that's just a situation. But these officers help because they're required to do this. So we need our voices heard. Higher than me, you and my board members. I need your voices heard. All right. All right, so are you clicking or I'm clicking? Okay, so when you look at this slide, you see this was 2021. And it gives you a breakdown of the emergency custody orders, the temporary detention orders, and the evaluations. Next slide. So for fiscal year 2021, 2022, just to give you a sense, there were 561 evaluations completed, emergency custody orders, 209, temporary detention orders, 177. So we're averaging on a month. Now, it might not seem a lot, but when you think about, I have 9 employees, and this operation is like a 24/7. We're averaging 47 evaluations a month, 17 emergency orders, custody orders, and 15 TDOs. That's a lot. Now, Mr. Townsend is nodding his head because shortly after I came on board, I had to meet with Mr. Townsend. I didn't know who Mr. Townsend was, but I met with Mr. Townsend, and we started in June the Successful Living Program. What you talk about that? That was a successful program. We're still doing it. So the first month, we had 26 individuals go through, 11 males, 15 females. And they've been released to other facilities. 17 individuals are in there now, 9 males and 8 females, 25. It's all about partnership. Can't do it by yourself. It is all about partnership. So I'm highlighting just a few programs and what it takes. And you guys know this. I'm not saying anything that's not new, but you know this. This is what it's about, and this is how we need each other. Next slide. So I want to talk about, you can go to the next slide, advance to the next slide. Medical services. Another key critical program. and I'm recruiting. So I'm being bold here, looking for a director of nursing. And you have to be creative. You can't go to the same places looking for the team that you have to look for. And you have to leave it out there longer. So I went to the luncheon that Mr. Stanley was in attendance to, the Chamber's luncheon. I sent my listing of programs over to the Chamber. And I also sent them to Cumberland. They have a newsletter. I sent my positions over to Cumberland. And I'll be reaching out to others. And I'm going to join the membership committee with the Chamber so that I can share and see who else I can connect with. Melody was in here, and I talked with her. I think it was last month. I'm gonna follow up with her as well, to just get a sense and to kind of meet people as I'm out and about, to just let them know, here's who we are. You can't sit in the office. You've got to be out in the community meeting people, and it's so that you can bring people into your organization. What you don't know about my director and my staff was saying, well, you know, nobody will come to Farmville. I guess they felt I was nobody too, so, but I'm here. But anyway, my Director of Administrative Services, 20-year Navy person, came from the Pentagon. Okay, I guess she's nobody too. But see, it's all about outreach. You can't just sit here and not look. You got to be creative. So, Children's Services. The children's program, we were blessed to, I have a staff person in my organization that received a SAMHSA grant, $954,000. She had never written a grant before. First time out the gate. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about a SAMHSA grant, but those grants are hard to write. That's a federal grant, 3 years, 2025. So she did her assessment, and initially she looked at where. And next slide, Cumberland County, you can advance it again. Again. The next one, I'm sorry. All right, Cumberland County, Lunenburg, and Nottoway. So those are the ones that, the schools that we're going to be working with. I am meeting with Dr. Johnson, I think in a couple of weeks. We're going to take a tour of our facility, and then we're going to take a tour of the schools. And we're going to look at how we can partner on maybe some other opportunities. I remember in the interview talking to Dr. Pride and saying one of the things that I was concerned about with the pandemic was the apathy that we were seeing in our children. Because as I was in Cincinnati, I saw that with the children. My concern was, so what are we going to do? Because we know that the social emotional growth that children need is so important, and that they lose it normally in that school year. So you can imagine what they lost during the pandemic. So it's so important. So again, just looking to see what other grant opportunities will become available that we will pursue as well. Next slide. Mental Health Initiative. You can advance to the next slide too. I want to get to the next slide. I want to go to ID case management. Here's another program, and you have to find the stars within your organization. This is another area that has done really well. They're working on a pilot program. In my assessment, there are 5 trends that we see, and one of them is the flexible rules, flexibility. Really looking, pandemic has shown us this, we really need to look at, can we continue to operate in the brick and mortar? Should we be looking at being a little flexible in what we do? So I have a pilot project going, and we're going to be looking at that. This group of staff has just been stellar. They've worked 2 days remotely, so we're going to test the waters. And the other thing is, you have to empower people to be better and to be great. and give them an opportunity to weigh in. There's no more top-down forcing people. You have to engage them to be a part of the decision-making process. So they're going to put together a plan for me. And this process really works. I brought on another young person, another individual, and they went and took a look at some space today, and they decided they wanted to move in this space. So they're gonna plan it, and I thought it's just wonderful. You bring people on, and someone said it tonight about treating them with dignity and respect. It's amazing what you receive back. And not, the three that are here are just, they're just so different. And I say this in a very positive way. I have no shame in what I say to my staff. They talk back. They say, Dr. Moore, no, we're not going to do that. They know that they had to keep the reins on the purse book because I love spending money. My finance manager, director knows that, and that's good, and that is good, and I told him that. I love them to death. They know that. I let them have their way, but they know that we have work to get done, and I can trust them. And it is phenomenal that I don't know these people. I just met them, but they're smart, they're intelligent, and I've never worked with a group of people like this, never. And that's why I know this is a divine assignment. I must say that. And I'm telling them that personally here tonight.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
you have presented a wealth of information, and it seems you have other information to present. Mr. Stanley, if I could ask that maybe if Dr. Moore would come back, your initiatives are wonderful, and we would like to hear more, but we have some other things on the agenda. Thank you for all you do. You are proving to be an excellent executive director, and what you have presented tonight, you bring in your workers with you. May I ask you to stand, those of you who have come with Dr. Moore? We appreciate all you are doing. We appreciate you for direction, but we're gonna have you back, Dr. Moore, and thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
May I call on, before we move any further in the agenda, Mr. Dave Gunnels, Park Manager, Sailors Creek and Stun River Battlefield State Parks. Is he in?
No.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Get me straight, Dr. Moore had me so involved. I'm sorry. Prince Edward County Extension, Jake Morgan, I'm sorry, who is the unit coordinator of 4-H Youth Development. Sorry about that, Jake.
That is fine, that's fine, I've been called much worse. I'm inviting Aaron up with me.
Sure.
But first, thank you, board, for inviting us here tonight and for your service. I do appreciate it. On a personal note, I dropped my son off at school, at the elementary school and middle school this morning, and I definitely saw your presence and it meant a lot. And both my boys had a fantastic first day of school. So
Wonderful.
Wanted to share that. But on to introductions. I'm here serving two expectations. I'm going to introduce our new Agriculture and Natural Resources Extension Agent, Aaron Small, and then give a brief update of Virginia Cooperative Extension.
Thank you.
I would like to introduce Aaron Small, the new Agriculture and Natural Resources Extension Agent here in Prince Edward County. She currently resides in Charlotte County on a beef, cow, calf farm and is in the process of moving to Farmville. Thank goodness. She is a graduate of Virginia Tech with a degree in agricultural leadership and community education and is currently working to attain her master's degree in ag sciences. She was a teacher for 3 years before coming into Extension, like myself. Born and raised in Fluvanna County, her farming experience is quite diverse. She has been involved with cut flower production, horse farming, aquaponics, cattle production, and more. With the skills gained from her education at Virginia Tech, lifelong involvement in agricultural associations, and experiences gained as a former ag teacher, I feel she is more than ready to serve Prince Edward County. As you will see, she has already proven me right, and she will provide consumers and producers with the latest research and hands-on experiences to further agricultural engagement in our county. So with that, I would like to introduce Erin Small. She is going to share with you some of her accomplishments so far this year. So I'm going to give the mic over to her.
Thank you. I could try to remember my list of things to share, but that's okay. Thank you for the introduction, Jake. I'm very excited to be serving Prince Edward in my role as the Ag Extension Agent, and I see a fellow Master Gardener member is part of your board, so that's exciting. Some things that I've been working on in the county since January. The first thing I did is I looked at the producer list that was left to me by our former extension agent, and I made efforts to visit either on site at the farm or at the extension office producers in every area of agriculture in the county. So that was a great success. I was able to talk to them about their needs and talk to them about things that I could do for them, working with Virginia Tech and the resources we've got there. The first program I did was a 5-week floral design program. We had a wait list for that, and we drew people from Buckingham, Cumberland, Appomattox, Charlotte County, all over to our extension office for that program. And from that, people found out about other things we were doing, and it really grew interest in our extension service. After that, I went and I collaborated with fellow agents around the state to work on a statewide, actually it was a National Beef Cattle Association conference at Virginia Tech. I've also worked with them on FFA competitions and Cattlemen's Association events. Our Cattlemen Association vet came out, and I would go around on veterinarian runs with him, getting out in the field and meeting farmers in the area. Let's see what else. I led a tick and tick diseases program, working with the health department and soil and water on that program. I attended the National Agriculture Association conference with some of your financial support, and that was greatly appreciated. I just got back from that in Florida a couple of weeks ago and gained a whole lot of knowledge on the national level about agriculture and what I can do to bring it back to the community. I led an Ag in the Classroom literacy program. I'm the agriculture area rep for Farm Bureau to do Ag in the Classroom, and so Jake was able to come with me, and we were able to meet with all of the kindergarten classes and all of the 4th grade classes right after that SOL end of the year window when kids were kind of jumping around. I know from being a former teacher, having guests during that time is great. And so we went in there and we read to all those kids, and that was really great to work with them and the teachers. I received a Grow It grant for $2,500 recently, and I partnered with Faces, the food pantry, and I'm revitalizing our demonstration garden at the extension office. I've got all kinds of things growing right now. I've got lemons and limes, and Japanese beetles got my grapes, so that's not too good. I've got a ton of corn growing. If anybody feels like picking corn or mulching or weeding, I'm out there all day doing that tomorrow. Let's see, I've done a lot of social media work. I've got an Instagram going where I'm sharing things and videos and tips as I go around the county and work with producers. And last off, I led a farm pond management program in collaboration with DWR, Virginia State, and Soil and Water at Wilkes Lake, which the county was nice to waiver some fees for us to use that. So those are some things I've had going on. I've been very busy. Some programs I've got coming up. I've got a Dairy Day scheduled for October 1st. It's only $5. You get ice cream. You all should come. I've got a Grow Your Own Groceries program, which I've adapted from an extension agent in Arkansas that was very successful, partnering with Faces again about how people can grow their own groceries in a small scale balcony garden. I'm also doing a Field to Vase program at the end of August on how to bring your fresh flowers inside and how to keep them lasting long. So do y'all have any questions for me? Yes.
I have a comment. She's very hands-on activity, guys. She just don't tell you what to do. She showed people how to arrange flowers, right?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Aaron, you call in for a lot of work tomorrow. Be careful in that heat. And
Thank you.
And those anticipated storms that are supposed to be
Thank
coming.
you, ma'am. Yes, I've been drinking a lot of Gatorade.
Yes.
So, all right.
Jake and Aaron, we
Very
thank
good.
you for that presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Jake? You finished?
I was just going to share a few things about 4-H,
Sure.
if that's okay. I know
Please.
that's a tough act to follow, and that's just a highlight. She was being a little modest with what she's
That's
accomplished so far. Just from a personal perspective, she has done an outstanding job so far with us. She's been with us since January. She's already accomplished all that. So I'm really happy to have her in Prince Edward and with Virginia Cooperative Extension, and she's a great face for our county and for the producers.
I have one other question for Aaron. Aaron, when you were in high school, were you a member of FFA? Were you very active in agriculture and
Sure.
farming
Thank you
and
for
everything?
asking. So I actually grew up doing 4-H from 9 to 19. I did 4-H. We weren't able to get an ag program at our high school until I was a junior. And when I was in that, I was our FFA president.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So, find my place here. I'm going to keep it brief. 4-H is going very strong in Prince Edward County. We had one of the few camps that actually had an increase in numbers over the summer at Holiday Lake. That's our premier thing, overnight camp at the Holiday Lake 4-H Educational Center. I love that week. It's a lot of work building up to it, but it's a fantastic week. I believe a certain young lady with the last name of Watson enjoyed 4-H for quite a few years.
Heard all about it.
I'm sure she's a fantastic young lady, and I'm sure you're proud. So something that we've kind of grown into is Congress at Virginia Tech, and that is basically a camp for the teenage age group. And that is, it invites teens from all over the state. And we actually had 3 teens this year for the first time in memory, really, that applied to be ambassadors for Central District, and all 3 were elected to serve on that cabinet as a state level as representatives for the Central District. So I'm very proud of them. We actually had our first meeting this past weekend, and they were fantastic representation of our community. A few more camps. It was a camp-heavy summer. Wouldn't have it any other way. It's Camp Loud and Clear. It's a camp that attracts participants from all over the nation. It is a camp for the deaf and hard of hearing. It's become a very successful niche camp. The last couple of years, we did have to cancel, unfortunately, because it was hard to provide the services we needed through COVID. This past year, we were able to attain funding from a Microsoft grant in excess of $6,000 to provide funding for the interpreters. That's a very cost-heavy part of this camp, and we were able to find that. So even though the numbers were down this summer, we're hoping to grow from here, and we can utilize those funds to provide that camp for that community. Cloverbud camp for the little guys. We had a teen and adult leader training camp. Our shooting sports education. I wish Daniel was still here. He's expressed interest in joining to that. That's our shooting sports club, I should say, is very popular. The waiting list is longer than the participant list, unfortunately. And with Daniel Jordan's help, I'm hoping to expand that and add a couple more sections to that program. That's a very important program right now, I believe. It teaches maturity and a whole lot more life skills than just aiming at the target. Where can I go? I'm trying to make it quick. I get kind of long-winded when I talk about it. I'm pretty passionate. But 4-H Tech Change Makers, hopefully you'll be hearing more about that in the future. It's meant to close the technological divide between in the senior community. They're going to be available to help in that.
Big job.
Yeah, it's a big job. But I mean, who do you go to for help with your cell phone and the computers, right? They've helped me as much as they've helped anybody else. So they are going to be a huge resource. I have a partnership with Piedmont Senior Resources. I'm hoping to build on that resource and be able to go to the clients that need that service to help them with being able to Zoom with their grandchildren and being able to use the devices that they need. I'm going to cut it off there. Future goals, I want to expand the Neighborhood Chefs program that provides culinary skills to kids in the community. That's always been a very popular program. I actually was lucky enough to earn the Innovative Programming Award for Virginia 4-H this past year due to that program. I'm looking forward to getting back into schools for in-school programming and building the after-school program. And we very much appreciate your support and I would love to take any questions that you may have. I know I talk pretty quick, sorry.
Thanks for all of that information. What is the cost for 4-H camp during the summer?
4-H camp this year, the cost per camper is much higher than what we charge. It's very much, we'd like to provide that service of summer camp. The funds are supplemented by grants and donations and fundraising. It was unfortunate when the United Way of Prince Edward County went away, because they did provide a good portion of that funding for scholarships. So the actual cost is, it's a little over $200 per camper, which if you consider Monday through Friday overnight meals, a t-shirt, all the classes, I mean, that's a bargain in itself. And we charge, yeah, we charge somewhere around that. It depends on the student, the kid too. We provide financial assistance as needed. So I can give you more exact numbers if you'd like. I don't want to speak off the cuff because I might be off a little bit.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Jake and Aaron.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Jake, what age is that for the seniors?
For the seniors?
Yeah, as far as.
Well,
Come on, Jake.
I still got a flip phone.
There you go. We are going to be
I just
meeting
wanted
the
to know
next
what
few
age it
weeks.
was, so I can get in.
He wants you to say 55 and up.
Well, a lot of my friends that are in their 30s and 40s need as much help as that technology is increasing really quick. And by the time you learn something, something else has come along to take its place. So feel free to reach out, and we can be of service.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Have a
that.
good night.
Work. Thank you all.
And while they're exiting, next on the agenda, economic development, tourism update. Chelsea.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. On pages 117 through 119, and on page 164 of your packets, you will find my report from which I'll provide some highlights. In the last couple of months, we've been spending a lot of time assisting the grant application and reporting process. We recently submitted a pre-application to the Virginia Business Ready Sites Program, which is through VEDP, for the Hit Park, requesting $7,920,000 in grants to fund the water line to the site, as well as the water tank and booster pump construction. We also assisted the CRC with completing the Go Virginia Enhanced Capacity Building Grant application to help fund the launching of the new regional, or what we hope to be a new regional economic development organization. The funding request for that was $100,000. Also, the 2022 Prince Edward County Enterprise Zone Annual Report to the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development on behalf of Prince Edward County was submitted recently. This report comprises data on enterprise zone activity during the 2021 calendar year. It consists of information on businesses that opened and closed in 2021, job creation data, the dollar amount of economic development incentives provided, and the dollar amounts of public and private investments. We have been advertising, recruiting, and accepting completing applications for the newly established Prince Edward County Tourism Council. And we're looking forward to the development of this advisory board. Last week, I had the pleasure of attending the VTC Partnership Marketing Team Retreat to meet the staff and highlight tourism initiatives in Prince Edward County. That group chose to come to Farmville for their event and for their retreat, which was awesome, because they could have chosen anywhere. because, you know, the staff is from all over the state of Virginia. And so the meeting that I attended was held at the Hotel Wine Oak, and like I said, included staff from all over the state, and that the staff there focus on developing and marketing vibrant communities. We are happy to have finalized the new Prince Edward County tourism logo. This logo will be featured on branded merchandise available at the Visitor Center, as well as on printed materials such as our tourism brochure and on our new social media platforms when they launch. So stay tuned for that. A month ago, we welcomed a new Visitor Center travel counselor volunteer named Frangella Johnson. Frangella is volunteering through the STEPS Workforce Training Program for seniors, which is a great program. We actually hired several part-time travel counselors that actually got their training through that program. And lastly, I just want to mention that Prince Edward County has been featured in 2 articles recently. They are titled, the first article is, "These Small Towns Are Full of Big Time Summer Fun." And the second one is 7 Prettiest Small Towns in Virginia for a Weekend Escape. And I will try to answer any questions that you might have.
When can we see the logo?
Sound like you stand busy.
When can we see the logo?
The logo, well, it's done, so I can get with Doug and possibly Sarah to see what's the best route for that. But yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Chelsea, thanks so much.
Thank
Wonderful
you.
job.
Thank you for your
Doing
time.
great.
And Chelsea, while you're standing, we moved to the Virginia Business Ready Sites Program Grant for HIT Park.
Awesome. So, Mr. Stanley, did you want to
Yes.
do that, or did you want me to just stay up, just stay in case there are questions, or how'd you want to?
I'll run through it, stay
Okay.
right there. So, Chelsea, at my direction, has put together or submitted a pre-application to the Virginia Business Ready Sites Program Development Grant for the HIP Park on August 1st, 2022. The request was made for $7,920,000 to fund a 1 million gallon elevated water storage tank and booster pump construction and site optioning acquisition control. The potential is to look at some adjoining property, be able to add to it. If we could at least get it under control via an option, then one, we could apply for additional grant monies based on that larger acreage. Getting over 500 acres would make it basically a mega site under the state's definition, and to open us up for additional funding both from VDOT and from the Business Ready Sites Program. As a condition of every RSP award, applicants must contribute a local match towards the site development cost. Matching funding requirements are based on the distress level of the project locality. Prince Edward is classified as a double distress locality. Basically, our unemployment rate is higher than the state, and we're twice the poverty rate in the state. Therefore, we get a 3-to-1 match. If selected to proceed in the application process, the application will be issued to the county on August 15 and will be due on September 13th. The following 2 rounds of the application process would consist of virtual and physical site tours of the HIP Park from October through December. Award offers will be made December through January, and a performance agreement would be required. We got funding last year as part of the water tank design. We got 2 grants, one from the Tobacco Commission and one from the Business Ready Sites Program last year. The board's original investment of the $1.5 million that can be used, the unused portion of that can be used towards our funding match. In addition, we have the ability to use our Tobacco Commission grant as matching funds. So you look, potentially, the county would have to come up with $359,000. I say if we were awarded the entire grant amount. We probably won't get awarded the entire grant amount because they may have to prorate it based on the other applications they receive. But the fact that the Business Ready Sites Program already funded $600,000 last year really, I think, gives us a better chance to be successful even this year. So state's already invested in our site. Now's an opportunity for them to invest additional funding. So thanks to both Chelsea and also for Timmons for helping us out, pull the engineering numbers together. But we're hopeful that we'll have a successful grant application. And on page 122, there's a recommended motion to approve the cash grant amount and authorize Chelsea to submit an application and authorize me as the county administrator to sign all the necessary documents associated with that application.
May I have a motion?
Yes, I move that the Prince Edward County Board of Supervisors approve the $359,900 county cash match request required for the VEDP Business Ready Sites Program Development Grant and authorize the Director of Economic Development and Tourism to submit an application to authorize the county administrator to sign all necessary documents as required.
Second.
Okay, it's been motion and second that the Prince Edward County Board of Supervisors approve the $359,900 county cash match request required for EDP Business Ready Sites Program Development Grant and authorize the Director of Economic Development and Tourism to submit an application and to authorize the county administrator to sign all necessary documents as required. Go we have a vote on that. David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Dr. Gurr?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Dessa? Yes. So moved. And motion granted. Thank you much. Thank you so much, Chelsea. Next on the agenda is the appointments to boards and outside agencies. Ms. Sarah Pucker.
On page 125 of your board pack, there are 3 positions, 2 of which Dr. Gurr will be appointed to. The third one, the Poplar Hills CDA, that position is vacant, and you had asked that it be carried over from last meeting. So the Granite Falls CDA and the Virginia's Heartland Water and Sewer Authority, every member of the board contemporaneously serves on those 2 bodies. So the board will wish to appoint Dr. Gurr to his seat on those
Okay.
2 authorities.
Okay. If we could take a vote on that?
I make a motion that we appoint Dr. Gurr to the Granite Falls and the Virginia Heartland.
Se-
Okay, motion and second that we appoint Dr. Gurr on the Granite Falls and the Virginia Heartlands WNS Authority. Cannon?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Dr. Gurr himself?
Yes.
And Odessa? Yes. So granted.
And at the pleasure of the board, you will wish to fill the vacancy on the Poplar Hills CDA, which is a seat. As the board may not be aware, there are 8 members to the Poplar Hills CDA. The CDA itself fills 5 of those members, and the Board of Supervisors fills 3 of those vacancies. Historically, it's been 2 citizens and 1 Board of Supervisors member that have filled what I'm going to call the 3 county seats.
Sarah, maybe just a little edification. I'm going to go on the assumption everybody knows, but I'm going to give a little quick summary. The Poplar Hill Community Development Authority is basically a kind of unit of government that was set up around the manor development. And it basically exists to collect this additional tax revenue that goes into development of the manor. And part of that was repaying the cost of the road and the water and sewer infrastructure out there and also the golf course. So this CDA board helps oversee the collection expenditures of those monies on an annual basis. And they probably meet 3-4 times a year. Obviously, the manor has, I'll say, languished for the last 10 plus years, and there's a lot of hope. We're starting to see some action as far as interest in the property. But in the long run, it's paying off some of that existing debt, but trying to move that project forward at some point. Sarah, is that good enough summary?
So, does anyone want to make a suggestion of an appointment?
You wanna do it? I nominate Cannon Watson.
I second.
Okay, so motion and second that we nominate Cannon Watson. Dr. Gurr?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Odessa, yes. Patty?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And Cannon?
Of course, yeah.
So Cannon has been appointed to the Poplar Hill CDA Board. Thank you so much, Cannon.
Things happen pretty fast around here.
Yes. So, sir, is that it?
No, ma'am. On,
My Christmas card list right
Wait till the other ones come up.
on page 127.
Right.
This is item number 15 in your board pack. There are 2 citizen volunteer vacancies that the board will wish to consider filling. One is for the County Planning Commission, but this is a town position. This is the vacancy created by the presence of Supervisor Watson on the Board of Supervisors. And then we have the Social Services Board, which is we geographically try and balance the DSS Board, and that is a Rice area position that was created by Supervisor Stiff being on the Board of Supervisors now. So, so we do have citizen volunteer applicants for you to consider.
So there's only one applicant for the County Planning Commission, right?
Yes, ma'am. There were a number of applicants for that position, but Mr. Weiss was the only town resident
Okay.
that submitted an application. So with the current guidelines that the board has in place, this is a town position. So you have to be a resident of the town of Farmville.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we appoint Rhett Weiss to the planning commission.
Second.
Okay, it's been motion and second that we appoint Mr. West to the County Planning Commission. Patty?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Dr. Gurr?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Odessa? Yes. So appointed. Okay, for the Social Services Board, we have 3 applicants?
Yes, ma'am. And all 3 are from the Rice area, so we kind of do a geographic split in the county, yes.
I'm gonna nominate Gwen Akers Booker for the Social Services Board.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been motion and second that we nominate Mrs. Gwendolyn Akers Booker. David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Dr. Gurr?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Odessa, yes, and Patty?
Yes.
Yes. So moved, Ms. Gwendolyn Akers Booker for the Social Services Division. Okay, so moved. Okay.
I have one more if you'd like for me to.
Sure.
Okay. Item number 16, which is page 141
Okay.
on your board pack. So we heard Scott Davis speak of the recent hazardous material incident in Farmville last month. In fact, it was the night of the July Board of Supervisors meeting. And, you know, I try to kind of take every opportunity like that, and maybe as a parent, I turn everything into a teachable moment. And sometimes that's for myself. And so when I went home at 2:30 in the morning that night, you know, thinking about all of the things that were accomplished by our volunteer first responders, but all of the things that could have happened, it made me think about the fact that we would probably be better served with someone who has more skills than I do on hazardous materials serving Prince Edward County. I'm going to say that I was given that position some years ago by default. For those of you who remember Jonathan Pickett, and he tragically passed away. And at the time, the board needed to fill the vacancy, and I was asked to do it. But I believe that now that we have Trey in the position as Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator, and with the wealth of experience that he brings as a first responder, as a firefighter, as someone who actually, boots on the ground, has responded to incidents like this. And additionally, Trey is looking into a week-long hazardous material technician class, training through FEMA that would be 100% reimbursed to the county. So there'd be no cost to the county except for his time to go. So I think this would be a good opportunity for us to learn from this incident and know that we have someone better prepared to respond to those in the future than me. So I would ask the board to consider appointing Trey as the county hazardous material coordinator for Prince Edward County, effective today.
So moved.
So moved and second, that the Board of Supervisors appoint Trey Powell, Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator, to serve in the roles of Hazardous Material Coordinator for Prince Edward County, effective tonight, August 9th, 2022. All those agree? Cannon?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Jessica, yes. Lou?
Yes.
And Dr. Gerber?
Yes.
Yes, so moved and approved.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, Community Policy Management Team appointment. Mr. Stanley.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the General Assembly created the Children's Services Act, or CSA, to create a collaborative system of services and funding that is child-centered, family-focused, and community-based to address the needs of troubled, at-risk youth and their families. Chapter 52 of Title 2.2 of the Code of Virginia outlines the requirements of the program. To receive CSA funds from the Commonwealth of Virginia, the code directs every county to establish a Community Policy and Management Team, or CPMT. Membership of the CPMT is specified in 2.25205 of the code and shall include at the minimum at least one elected official or his designee from the governing body of the locality, that's presently myself, the local agency heads or their designees of the following community agencies: Community Services Board, Juvenile Court Service Unit, Department of Health, Department of Social Services, and local school division. A representative of a private organization or association of providers for children's or family services if such organizations are located within the locality, and a parent representative. The CPMT is requesting the Board of Supervisors appoint Taylor Allen to serve as the representative of a private organization. Ms. Allen is the Clinical Director of Family Preservation Services located at 201 North Main Street in Farmville. She has served on numerous family assessment planning teams, or FAPS, and CPMT teams in the region. She is aware of the challenges facing families and their youth who require services administered through CSA programs, particularly in rural communities. The appointment would be effective July 1, 2022 and expire on June 30, 2024. Due to resignation, both CPMT and FAP need a parent rep. If anyone is aware of a parent volunteer candidate, there's additional information on those. So at this time, the recommendation is for the board to appoint Taylor Allen to the CPMT for a term, again, July 1, 22 through June 30 of 24.
I move the appointment of Taylor Allen.
Second.
Okay, it's a motion second that we appoint Ms. Taylor Allen to the Community Policy Management Team for a term of 2 years effective July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2024. Cannon.
Yes.
Carol.
Yes.
Jerry.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Dr. Gurr.
Yes.
Lou.
Yes.
Patty.
Yes.
And Odessa, yes. So moved. Ms. Taylor Allen is appointed. Okay, thank you much. Next on the agenda, we will have our county attorney update from Ms. Terry Atkins Wilson.
Madam Chairman, Board, Mr. Stanley. We've had, I started to think about, but I guess we had one less week because we had a later meeting in July. I guess one of the major projects that I worked on this past month involved our access road. As you know, we had a deed of easement from Triborough, a deed of easement from the IDA, and then we've also had a subdivision plat that had to be put to record, and then a deed of easement for the county. Anyway, just a little recording at the courthouse, and anyway, that was one of the major projects. I worked with the Commissioner of Revenue. She had a question about somebody was, whether they qualified or not for a particular exclusion, and worked with her on that. Anyway, that, we've also worked with Lowe's on the issue with the drainage and the sewer easement. Anyway, don't know of any upcoming litigation against us. Anyway.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Always a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. So does anybody have any questions, concerns?
No questions or concerns?
No.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Next on the agenda, the county administrator's report. Mr. Stanley.
Yes, ma'am. Couple items here to report on. Prince Edward County Industrial Park, the board had approved the contract. It's meeting on July 19th. A notice of award has been issued. More likely than not, looks like the contractor is going to wait and start construction in February of next year. That was one of the options they had. The project for our grants needs to be completed by next fall. But the good news is we got our costs and stuff are locked in. Sandy River Reservoir Project, the board approved the advertisement of the draft interim agreement at a special meeting on July 15. Public hearing will be held, a special meeting on August 23rd. Hampton-Sydney Science Building, a reminder, the board has been invited for lunch and a tour of the new science building on August 15th. That's next Monday from 11:30 to 3 p.m. I don't know if it'll take all that time, but that's the block they've got. If you haven't already, let Karen or I know if you plan to attend, if you have not done so. Cannery boiler replacement, the contractors completed installation of the new boiler, and they've been on site again this week to complete the list of punch list items. The new chiller has been hooked up this week for the courthouse, and which will allow the removal of the temporary chiller and everything. Randy has done an excellent job coordinating. We haven't missed a beat. We haven't missed a day of operations. And overall, the project has gone very smoothly. Courthouse lawn, the contractor, again, started on site on June 13. Project remains on schedule to be completed, that's a mid-September to early October. VATI grant, I know Melody talked about a little bit. Connex is hoping to sign up a contract with the cable installation company in the coming weeks, and the contractor will start installation out in the county, and we should be able to provide monthly updates on the miles of fiber installed in the passings for homes and businesses. Smart scale applications, we've got an item, a resolution of support that's on the table pack that Melody's been working on for our smart scale applications. The two applications, one is the turn lanes for the manor, and the second is improvements to the intersection of Route 692 and Route 665. That is Kingsville and Abilene intersections, kind of the back entrance to Hampton-Sydney. That's one of the sites I know a number of years ago was identified as one of the more, I guess, biggest safety needs for our road projects. Reassessment, staff has been working with Melody and the CRC to put together an RFP for reassessment firms, the next upcoming reassessment. By working with the CRC, we'll not have to put out an individual one for our county, and we'll go with the other counties in the region. We've also added in Appomattox. And based on a revised 4-year cycle, we would need to start field work middle of 2023 for a reassessment that would take effect January 1 of 2025. The 2022 estimated ratio provided by the Virginia Department of Taxation shows Prince Edward County with an assessment ratio for 2022 of 85.5%. That means already since January 1 of 21, we've slipped 14.5%. So you're something that's going, say, for each dollar, the assessed value is only 85% of that. So we're starting to slide, and probably a couple years, you will already be into the lower 70s or upper 60s. And it really backs up the decision the board made, which is to move from a 6-year to a 4-year reassessment cycle, so we don't have quite a jarring change again. Lastly, Sarah and I toured the current VDOT projects under construction, including the Hampton City Roundabout and the rural rustic projects at Schoolhouse, Bolden Flournoy, and Whispering Wood Roads. All those projects are on schedule to be completed later this fall. Most of them have already been, the ditch work has been completed. They just need to add stone and shoot tar and chip. So we're excited to get those projects moving forward. And we've also discussed with Scott an alternate site for the Rice Convenience Center while the permanent site will be under construction. And we're hoping to be able to get that project out to bid, hopefully in the next 30 to 45 days. And hopefully we'll give Jermaine a little bit better home out there at the compactor site. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Just a comment, the constituents from both of those roads, Schoolhouse and Whispering Woods, are very appreciative for the work that has been done on their roads.
It looks, most of it looks pretty good,
Yeah,
and we
it
were
does.
impressed with it, yeah.
It does.
A quick question, speaking of reassessment, I got a phone call from an individual in Prospect District this week that's 100%, we've visited this one time before, it's 100% disabled and having a hard time paying property taxes and whatever. She had done some homework and said that Petersburg doesn't charge their disabled people any property tax. Is that, if I'm not mistaken, we looked at that one time before, the state only allows us to deduct so much, is that correct?
I believe so, and you gotta remember too, Petersburg as a city has a charter,
That's what I was gonna
their
ask.
language can be different
Right,
than
right.
ours. So all the counties fall under the county language, so we're limited.
I told her I thought there was something along that line, but I would ask tonight and see what.
And we, remember, last year, we upped the income limits to try to, we kept most everybody. There was only a couple people that Reba had indicated fell kind of outside of those limits, but almost everybody, I'd say 95% of the people that had been in the program qualified with those changes y'all made last year.
I'll pass that on, but that's because of the city.
Okay, Mr. Sandler, is there anything that needs to be addressed on the addendum packet?
So the addendum packet, you've got under item 22, that's your treasurer's report with current balances, your accounts and claims, and also there's an appropriation in there for the sheriff's department. That's page 179. That's an action item. So we want the board to approve because all three of those consent items.
I'll make a motion, we approve that to the DARE program.
Second.
Okay, it's motion second that we approve that.
Madam Chair, if I could, David, would you amend that motion to include acceptance of the treasurer's report and approval of the claims and accounts?
Yes, I will.
Okay, accept all of those claims. It's been motion and second. David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Dr. Gerb?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
That's a yes. And Patty?
Yes.
So moved, approved. Anything else, Mr. Stan?
Next is citizen volunteer appointments, Tourism Council. Chelsea, you want to come up? As you know, at one of our last meetings, we established a Prince Edward County Tourism Council. And the purpose of the Tourism Council, one of the primary functions, is to serve as an advisory board for the county to meet the code requirement that says, because we collect the lodging tax, we collect a 7% lodging tax. And by state code, 3 cents of the 3% of the 7% must be spent to promote tourism in Prince Edward County. And what does that mean? Well, that could be advertisements, that could be additional signage, it could be, a marketing plan, all those types of things. But in order, as part of that process of determining what to spend it on, we have to have input from particularly the lodging and meals, the vendors that are in the community that provide these services. So Chelsea had drafted that up, including the membership, and Chelsea, I'll turn that over to you and let you talk about the applicants we have.
Sure. So in your table pack on page 181, I provided a chart that summarizes everyone who's applied. And then as you can see for this particular council, the term of office is 2 years. And it's not a specific, I guess you would say, amount or a set number. It's a range between 5 to 9. So I'll just read, specifically in the bylaws that kind of give you the information of who in particular, or how we should fill the categories of who needs to be in the board. So the council will be composed of not less than 5 nor more than 9 voting members. Council members shall either be residents of Prince Edward County or work for or own a business in Prince Edward County or in a tourism adjacent industry. To the extent practicable, the Tourism Council will have a diverse representation from the following tourism-related industries: outdoor recreation, higher education, destination shopping/retail, lodging, museums, state parks, spirits, which include wineries, vineyards, breweries, and/or the Chamber of Commerce in Prince Edward County, with no more than 1/3 of the council members representing a single tourism industry. Members will be, like I said, will be elected for 2 years. So I think.
Industry, no more than a third representing one industry or one company?
Industry.
Okay.
Yes, and so a lot of the people who applied, we did receive, it looks like 10 applicants. A lot of the people that applied kind of check multiple boxes there, so I think that's where you probably want to, I guess, be careful or just make sure to pay attention. I will say, so the last couple of applications, I guess they just recently came in. Most of them I've seen, and they actually sent applications to me, but the last couple, I guess, just came in. I don't know if it makes a difference, but it looks like one of them was received on the 9th. The deadline was the 5th, but I don't know if maybe that had to do with the mail or something like that. I don't know how specifically that one was really received by Sandra Cook. But either way, it looks like you can't just accept all of them because the maximum is 9, and we have 10, and then some of them, like I noticed, for instance, the hotels, looks like 2 people from Holiday Inn applied, but then we also have someone from Hampton Inn, and then we also have someone who represents Sandy River Distillery and Retreat. So that already, I think, would make up more than a third if you selected all of them. So you kind of have to.
Well, I think you've got one person that does work for both Holiday Inn and Hampton that would check both those boxes, for instance. Right. So I think I'd try to avoid appointing 2 people to represent one organization. Does that make sense?
So how you want us to do this? Make one at a time, Madam Chair? Nominate one at a time, or?
I was gonna let Chelsea.
Oh, you want to pick them?
Heat for them.
I mean, you can pick them. I mean, we ain't gonna say all night. I'm ready to go.
I spread that heat. Go ahead, Chelsea. We're used to it.
Yeah.
So Chelsea, you are leaving it to the board, or you can make that decision?
Yeah, it's supposed, from my understanding, it's the board, it'll be the board's appointment. Yes, y'all's.
But do you have a group that you want to recommend?
Right, and you are the ones working.
Well, I can say the easiest ones to recommend, just to make sure we're checking off each specific category. So the easiest one, Cameron Patterson, because he meets museums. Now, we do have colleges, though. Well, okay, sorry, I take that back. The easiest person probably would be Karen Caton, because she really only represents the shopping and retail.
Okay.
So Karen Caton.
That's 2. You got 2.
So that's one, actually. So I take back Cam, because he's museums, but then Longwood. But he is the only person that represents museums. Right. So then
I think Cam
I think he would be really good.
Cam would make a good one.
Yep. Now then, going from there, so that way we have museums and we have destination shopping. Another category is schools, so higher education. So we have, it looks like, I want to say, so Sandra, I read her application. That was the last one that came in. She's from Hampton-Sydney College. But then we also have Longwood University, Cameron Patterson, and then also Kylie Dyer. So you probably would want to, I would say, you would have to choose between.
Give Sandra Cook, she Hampton-Sydney, right?
Yeah, she's Hampton-Sydney, okay.
You got Longwood already with Cam.
Mhm. And then next, so we wanted specific representation from state parks. We have one person.
Jody Williams.
I forgot how easy, yeah, that one is an easy one too, because he's the
All
only
right,
one.
that's 4.
Yep. And then,
You gotta have one more at least, Jerry. Then we can put the boxing gloves on.
distillery.
Yeah.
So
Distillery, yeah.
that would check that.
Mark
Smith.
Smith, that's 5.
And then now you have everyone else. Well, it looks like Richard McClintock, he's retired. So that's,
What do you do? What do you?
well, it looks like he did yeah. He actually designed the seal, from my understanding, for the county.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, he make a good one.
Yeah.
Over the years, he's done a lot of the visual images that the county of Prince Edward still uses.
Oh, yeah.
Like the county seat.
Yeah,
All
he's-
right,
he's-
sounds good.
Hey, look
I
at
like
McClintock.
McClintock.
Sound good.
Six
And that would
on
be
that?
enough. That
That's
would be
6 right there.
Yeah,
But I don't know what category that checks, but so.
Right.
That's
But-
6, that meet the criteria.
Right.
So the only question would be, do you want anybody else from Pure Lodging? And you've got one person that represents both hotels,
Right.
rather than picking one of the other two.
Yeah, going back to that, let's see.
But Tiffany Duffy, I don't know
Yeah,
Tiffany.
Abby or either John.
I mean, it seems like it would make the most, like Doug's, like Mr. Stanley mentioned, someone that would check the boxes for 2 different hotels.
Yeah, Tiffany would probably serve dual roles.
That's Holiday and Hampton.
Holiday and Hampton.
Yeah, well, both of them, yes.
They're both under the, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's 7.
Yeah.
Big
And you
runs
can-
the Hampton Inn,
And I mean, you can go up to 9, so,
No.
okay,
7 would be good.
I think 7 good.
okay.
You can
So
always
we're going
add,
with
you can add to
Tiffany.
it later if you feel like you need something, come back.
5, 6, 7. So we
So
got,
we're going with Tiffany?
I should have brought my pen up here.
So you have Karen Caton with Karen's Bridal, you have Tiffany Duffy with Holiday Inn and Hampton Inn, you have Cam Patterson with Moat Museum and Longwood, you have Jody Williams with Twin Lake State Park, Mark Smith with Sandy River Distillery and Sandy River Retreat, Richard McClintock and Sandra Cook.
sounds good. You making that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so it's been moved and second that we choose Karen Caton, Tiffany Duffy, Cam Patterson, Jody Williams, Mark Smith, Richard McClintock, and Sandra Cook to serve on the Citizens Volunteer Board with Tourism.
Madam Chair, with that motion, I would like, as Doug said, that if we need to revisit it, that we could revisit to add.
Okay, thank you. And added, if we need to revisit, we would have the opportunity to add.
Sounds good.
Okay, motion second. Patty?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Dr. Gurr?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes?
And Odessa, yes. So those are our 7 individuals.
Thank you. That was
Thank you, Jill.
super complicated, but we got it done.
We got it, Chelsea, we got it.
Mr. Stanley, VDOT Smart Scale Applications.
Yes, ma'am. During the last round of smart scale applications, the county submitted 2 applications for Manor House turn lanes and improvements to Route 692 Kingsville Road and 665 Abilene Road intersection. The Manor House Drive project is necessary to permit development of the manor. Years ago, it was proposed a 4-lane 15 all the way down through Kingsville. And in its infinite wisdom, VDOT pulled the plug on that project. Well, when they did so, they should have gone past Lowe's and through that intersection and put the turn lanes in for the manor. Because I think the manor project, they didn't put the turn lanes in because they were expecting the wide lane, 4-laning of the road and didn't want to have throwaway work. So what it left us with is a development that could have, 1,500, 2,000 houses, but no turn lanes. So what we're trying to do, we'd apply for some revenue sharing money, and that may be an option, but ideally, we get a smart scale application and get it completed so the majority of the cost would be paid for by VDOT. We did, to help the project score better, we put up a commitment of $500,000 for the project. That gets it more points in the smart scale scoring. So this project and the other one have to go get scored against all the other projects in the state and in the region to determine where the funding will come in. So we have no idea whether either one of these will get approved, but these are two we think will score fairly well. The 692, 665 intersection would provide safety improvements to a previously identified unsafe intersection, again, that serves the south end of the Hampton-Sydney campus. Melody Foster got contacted by VDOT last week, and they've asked for a formal resolution from the board that's attached in your packet, but it basically commits us to the match, but commits the board to its support of those two projects. With that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Okay, we do have a motion.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and approved that the board approve the attached resolution of support for the smart scale application for Manor House turn lanes and improvements to Route 692, which is Kingsville Road / Route 665, which is Abilene Road intersection. Patty?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Dr. Gurr?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Odessa, yes. So moved and approved. And that brings us to committee reports. Down on page 211.
David, can I pass this to you real quick?
Thank you.
We had a personnel committee meeting this evening prior to the board meeting, and the one item that we have for consideration by the board. So as part of the General Assembly session, the state budget, funding was approved for what was called compression pay effective August 1 for sworn deputy sheriffs and regional jail officers. So, but it was for comp board positions, meaning positions that the state pays for. For Prince Edward County, it doesn't include county-funded only positions, which we have several, but a deputy to qualify would have to have at least 3 years of experience. And so Jerry's been dealing with this at the jail. We have 2 officers that qualify that are county-funded, so we did not include those with our funding in the budget. And I've talked to both individuals, and the reality is that a deputy doesn't know whether they're a comp board funded employee. They just know they're a deputy for Prince Edward County. Exactly. So James Graves and Stephen Mercer, the reality, one's got 5 years of service, one's got 8. We're talking about $1,300. This is really an equity issue, and I've made a recommendation to the personnel committee. I thought they ought to be included. It's not a huge chunk of change, but talking with our neighboring jurisdictions, the school resource officers were picked up in those jurisdictions, so I don't want our folks to be left out.
I move that we approve the salary increases for Deputy Graves and Mercer.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we approve the salary increases for deputies Graves and Mercer as presented to the board effective August 1st, 2022. Cannon?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Odessa, yes. Lou?
Yes.
And Dr. Gurr?
Yes.
So moved and approved.
Madam Chair, just a couple other updates from that meeting. We approved a revised job description for landfill operations supervisor, basically giving Paul Langlois a little more responsibility out there. He also, with that change, he'll become an exempt employee, which means he will no longer receive overtime. We've got a slight pay bump for him for that. We also talked about implementing a drug testing program, a random drug testing program for our employees that operate particularly heavy equipment and vehicles for the county. We're going to try to implement that probably January 1. We're also looking at implementing background checks. We don't currently, except for employees in the sheriff's office, for other employees, we don't do background checks through state police. So we're going to start doing those for county employees as well. And the last item is we're looking at planning what would be hopefully an annual holiday luncheon for all staff, and all board members would be invited. We would secure a facility like the Sportsplex or something, and try to do it during the middle of the workday, maybe shut down for a couple hours and provide everybody with a meal and a chance for fellowship. So that's one of the things we're going to try to implement this coming December. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Very good.
Okay. Any other comments, concerns, or questions? If not, may I have a motion to recess until August 23rd, 2022 at 7 p.m. for a PPEA public hearing?
So moved.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
And moved in second. May we take a vote? David?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Dr. Gurr?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Odessa? Yes, and Beverly? Patty?
Yes.
Everybody enjoy your evening.
We missed
Thank you so much.